I'm quite sure you have experienced that too. You experience strong negative emotions, maybe anger, maybe fear, maybe jealousy, and you really don't want it, so you start fighting against it. But unfortunately, the more you resist it, the stronger and the longer it stays within yourself. My name is Christoph, and over the last 20 years, I had the pleasure together with our great team to support more than 500 employees and the leaders around the world through workshops, in seminars and talks. And one of the key topics, again and again, is the aspect of emotional intelligence, as our ability to manage our emotions is vitally important, sometimes equally important than our technical skill on a particular subject or job we are doing. Back in 2014, a research was published which has shown that 90% of the top performers were also high on emotional intelligence, whereas only 20% of the low performers were high on emotional intelligence. So let us dive a little deeper into that very important and fascinating topic. But how can we successfully manage our emotions? Well, let's take our mind back. What did you learn in school or maybe at home? What to do when you had negative emotions? I have asked these questions, and we have asked this question with the Telex Institute to thousands of people. The number one ranked answer is, well, I was told to come back when I feel better again. A lot of what we have learned back in the days had to do with pushing emotions to the side, maybe suppressing those, denying them. But is that really successful? My own life experience has shown that this is as successful as shaking a Coca-Cola bottle over the course of a couple of hours when you travel with it and then expect to drink it smoothly. It just doesn't work. But let's dive a little bit deeper into that phenomena of suppressing our emotions, distracting ourselves from the emotions. What is your number one strategy? It's good to be aware of it. Self-management starts with self-awareness. If I look into my life, I quite often go, for example, to the social media or to my mobile phone when I feel something and I don't want to feel it. In fact, I might not even be aware fully of what's going on in me. I just distract right from the beginning. Are you doing that? Is it maybe watching a soap opera in the middle of the night? Going to sleep? You don't want to know anything anymore about the world? Is it going for a shopping tour? Well, that might be fun. Are you eating more when you don't want to feel your emotions? And sometimes we just tighten up the whole body, and there is a good reason why we do that. We'll talk soon more about that. It's important to be aware of that mechanism, to catch ourselves. And it is vitally important to understand what is actually an emotion. It's nothing to be really afraid of. Emotion is pure intelligence. It's one incredible miracle of our human life, our human experience, that we are able to have emotions. An emotion is a physical reaction to a stimuli. We become aware of something, for example, something dangerous, right? If you are maybe afraid of spiders, you might see a spider and immediately your body reacts. Why? Because our instinct is to assure our survival, so we are ready to fight that spider, to run away. And on a physical level, well, there's multiple reactions happening at the same time, and still, that is subject to a lot of research, but scientists would agree that one of the main functions in our brain which react very fast is the amygdala. The amygdala is part of your limbic brain. It's an autonomic function. You don't have really a say on it. And that's okay here, because it takes just about 100 milliseconds for the amygdala to react, and we are ready to, yes, as we said, fight or flight. Interestingly though, there is also a phenomenon called the amygdala hijack. That is when the amygdala reacts so fast, but our cognitive part of the brain really doesn't understand what's going on. It takes typically about 700 milliseconds for your cognitive part of the brain to be on alert and understand why on earth am I ready to fight? And in these 500-600 milliseconds, there's a lot going on, right? We sometimes pay a heavy price for it, and sometimes it saves our life. A little further down that whole kind of chain of reactions, it is today known that our brain has the ability to produce neurochemicals when we experience an emotion. Now let's have a closer look into that, because that's fascinating research, and probably it's good to do credit to Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, author of a great book, The Whole Brain Living. Now, she published some very interesting research and looked into the question, how long is really an emotion staying in our system? So when our body reacts, when our brain reacts to a stimuli, then today we know that our brain produces neurochemicals. And they, you can imagine, are fleshed throughout our body. So, what do we know today in terms of science? We know that an emotion causes a physical reaction. In fact, an emotion is a physical reaction of our system. And what we experience as unpleasant is many times that physical sensation. And different emotions cause different physical sensations in our system. Interestingly, Dr. Jill Bolte was able to show that this flush of neurotransmitters and therefore the sensations in the body which could be uncomfortable, they stay only 60 to 90 seconds. However, there's two main reasons why an emotion could stay much longer. And I think that's your experience probably too. Right? We are able to experience the negative emotions over what? A couple of minutes, hours, days, months, right? So one aspect which is quite evident is if that stimuli comes up again and again. Quite evidently, if you're really afraid of a spider and you see them all over, it is quite intelligent for your system to reproduce that emotion. If you have a negative emotion related to a particular person and you see that person again and again, it's quite natural that these emotions will come up. However, the emotions sometimes also stay longer when there's no immediate stimuli. Would you agree? And one reason there could be exactly that unfortunately we try to suppress the emotion. We try to distract from the emotion. We don't fully experience it. And the more we push it away, the more it will stay. In fact, to really go through it as fast as possible, the recommendation would be to just fully experiencing it. That in some way could be considered revolutionary, right? I don't want to have it, and that's why I have to give the attention. Our mind, our attention, has an incredible transformational power. Now, let's understand that a little bit deeper because actually, scientists know even more today. Look at this one. This is research from a great Finnish team of scientists. And, well, you know, it is fair to say that yogis, for example, have quite precisely described which emotion you experience in which part of the body. This is called the chakras, the energy centers, which are connected to certain emotions in the body. But scientists were quite skeptical. Is that, Western scientists, we have to say, were quite skeptical. Is that to be considered real scientific knowledge? Well, today we will need to answer with a big yes. Look at this. Scientists asked, for example, the questions to participants, where in your body would you A, feel a certain activity with the emotion of sadness, and in which parts of the body you surely don't feel any activity in your body when you experience the emotion of sadness. And participants were able to connect to that emotions and then point it out. And look at the result. Quite reliably, participants were describing to experience activity in the area of the upper part of the heart region, in the throat, a little bit in the head. And the other parts in the body were much less activated. Now you could ask the question, well, is that what people would answer in general when they're asked, well, where do you feel any emotion? And the answer is absolutely not. Look at this one. The details for different types of emotion. Happiness. Actually, in happiness, big parts of the body were experienced as being alive, activated, but not for anger. It's more the upper part of the body, especially the head. The eyebrow center, as the yogis would say. Fear, more connected to the heart region and the upper part of the body. Disgust, sadness. There's clear evidence that A, emotions are experienced as physical sensations and different emotions are located in different parts of the body. Now you could say, Christoph, that was very interesting, but is there any practical relevance? Well, I would say absolutely yes, and I would just wish I would have known about this knowledge when I was younger. You know, I grew up actually with experiencing a lot of fear. I typically was quite sure that under my bed something will be hidden, somebody will be hidden. And I didn't know how to manage my negative emotions, my fear. And even when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, it was tough for me as a young boy to walk through a dark forest, and we lived in a forest. I had no clue how to deal with my emotions. Today I know, and I learned when I was about 20 plus years old, that the power of attention is something we always have with us. So 2 things you could look into. 1, just down below, I've put a link for you with a mindfulness exercise in which you can practice that power of observation, observing an emotion in your body. It needs practice. It's a skill. And B, if you wish, I also put a link down below with a short little exercise, and you could download that paper. And there's basically 5 steps to it. Number 1, at any given point of time, you could, for example, sit down and close your eyes and ask the question, well, what's going on in me right now? What do I actually feel? Number 1, give it a name. Give it a name. I feel happy. I feel jealousy. Number 2, let it be there. Have that courage to face that emotion. And no, it's not there for the first time. This emotion is well known to you, especially if you're bothered about it. Otherwise, if it would be fresh and new, it wouldn't bother you, would you agree? You have been there and you have gone through it. Number 2. Number 3, there is this emotion in my body. Observe it. Locate it. And now you have become a scientist. But your science is the science of curiosity. It's not about being right. It's about being aware. Where is it? Just observe it. And again, let it be there. Don't fight it. Number 4, if you wish, take a long deep breath and breathe into that physical sensation. You can do it, right? However, do it not with the intention of finally being able to push it away, but in honor. Embrace that emotion. Let it be there. Then with this attitude, get into action. Yes, do something that you feel good about, that helps you. Is it for you jogging, talking with a friend, watching that soap opera, going to the internet, going for shopping, eating? Do it when it helps, you know. With that attitude, I'm sure it will help. So it was a pleasure to connect to you. It was an honor to talk about this very important topic of emotional intelligence. As always, happy if you subscribe, happy if you share the channel with others, and see you soon again.